After the old cheap motel feeling of Atlantic City, this bohemian homestay in South Philly was curious. Like if I had moved into a late 19th century row house with all of my ephemera. It felt oddly familiar. Morning light began mine and my teenagers' return trip to Chicago. There was a central need to be addressed on our first train. Okay, this trip has actually just been about buttercakes. Today we are going to ride Northeast Regional from Philadelphia to New York City, and we are going to buy buttercakes. We're going to buy as many buttercakes as seems reasonable, maybe more. Then we're going to go on the Lakeshore Limited. The inbound SEPTA Route 47 bus detoured through an open-air farmer's market. I could have opened a window and grabbed a squash. It's just too big to be a photo booth. That's way too much room. It's like you could take a picture of a horse in there. And then all of a sudden you're at the transit store. Getting to Jefferson Station required us hauling through the Fashion District. Our same-day Amtrak tickets get us a free ride from Center City, Philly to 30th Street Station on Regional Rail. In 25 hours, we'll be in Illinois, hopefully making a similar connection across Union Depot's underground platforms to catch a final commuter train to my parked van in the exurbs of Chicago. Whether we make a tight set of connections mostly relies on our luck, with Amtrak trains on the Northeast Corridor and the old New York Central water level route across upstate New York. This first leg of our trip should be a brief, routine ride in an Amfleet 1 coach hauled at up to 125 miles per hour to New York Penn Station. I should be able to buy several buttercakes in the cafe car to save in my bag for long-distance snacking tonight or breakfast tomorrow. The cafe car on our next train will have the national cafe menu, not the Northeast Regional version with the buttercakes, so we've got to get them on this first leg. But will my luck persist to find the cakes available without a limit to their purchase? Or has someone with the same mindset already bought out the cafe car on this Northeast Regional train? The train saw a 3-minute delay upon arrival, and the escalator was undergoing maintenance as those ahead of us in line with large suitcases were convinced to use the red cap service on the elevator. That left us at the head of the line, and I felt my luck might get us by. The escalator soon restarted, and we took the ride down to platform level to await our train's arrival, which, upon taking our staging area, was briskly changed to the track on the other side of the platform. I thought nothing of this then, but now I see how the train might have been shifted off the mainline routing for reasons that would soon become known.
Ladies and gentlemen, attention please. Ladies and gentlemen, make all empty seats available. Again, make all empty seats available. Remove any and all personal items that you have occupying empty seats next to you or across from you. Once again, make all empty seats available. The train is sold out. Every seat will be needed. We do have mechanics on the way to try and rectify the problem.
Prior to the train departing Philly, 36 minutes behind schedule after whatever finally got resolved, we made the walk to the cafe car after our tickets were scanned. I was in line for a good 15 minutes awaiting service on this very busy and now increasingly delayed train. We were passing Zoo Interlocking when I made it to the counter, tried to order 4 buttercakes, and was told the attendant didn't know if she had that many, came to look in the cabinet to discover that she in fact had none. My spirits defeated, laid my hope for indulgence now on the use of my Metropolitan Lounge pass. But further delays prior to leaving SEPTA territory saw us lose more time. The East Coast characters around us noticed to various degrees. The fella behind us on a Zoom call was perturbed and anxious about the delays, vocally spouting off in grunts and hisks now and then. The guy in front of me was on his own Zoom call to discuss AI integration or something like that. He noticed the delay less. The guy behind us was off by Princeton Junction just before we made the high-speed run at 125 miles an hour into central Jersey.
New Brunswick is coming up next. Metro Park is coming up next.
National Geographic is
Ladies and gentlemen, our next station stop will be the Newark International Airport Rail Station, north of the airport.
so I just want you to look out the windows both sides and see if
Arriving at Newark Airport. Station Newark, New Jersey is coming up next. Newark, New Jersey is just at the station. Please ensure you have all of your personal belongings.
My apartment generally has like 50 costumes outside. One of the like main things. Everybody eats each other. I texted her.
Arriving at Newark.
From 50 minutes late after further stops in SEPTA territory, we lost only 2 more minutes from there through Newark. Our arrival into New York was putting us at precisely 3 o'clock, our Lakeshore Limited train to depart at 3:40 p.m., leaving us with 10 to 20 minutes at most of a window prior to boarding to potentially enjoy the Metropolitan Lounge. After the buttercake shutout, would there be any items offered in the case that could fill my stomach prior to boarding? Maybe 1 pint of iced coffee would be possible. Perhaps those little caffeinated chocolate squares that Amtrak offers in Chicago. Lounge Pass users can't be choosers, but will the time spent looking down from the balcony in Moynihan Train Hall be hilariously too brief to both enjoy a free meal and get a prime coach seat? We positioned ourselves near the exit door where a deadheading Amtrak crew member told a group of non-English speakers bound for a World Cup match they couldn't stand in the vestibule between cars. They got shuffled to the car ahead of us after butting their way beyond in line in our car, which left us anticipating a dash up the escalator to Amtrak's jewel of an East Coast station as we pulled onto the platform. That's the way to be only way to go. And for that matter, when's this door gonna open? I can see people disembarking over there. Oh, wait, there we go. Wait, yeah, I forgot. Bud don't break, but the doors are questionable. Might have 40 minutes in the lounge. Better go up there and see how long they think we'll have. Oh good, we are the track closest to the lounge. Okay, immediately left. We're gonna try, let's see what they say. Can't believe they didn't have buttercakes. Well, you can see how that went. But just gonna go for it. I'm gonna put my bag here and then we're gonna go eat, yeah. To notice where we are. On time to eat. I had to just shovel that into my mouth. That guy is going to be difficult. We're only in coach. I doubt they'll have the butter cake on the menu. It's a national cafe, right? We don't even know till Albany. All we get to do is look at the pretty Hudson River. Boarding time came and we got advance notice of our track number. But I wasn't going to queue up in the main hall. If you walk across the hall to the West End concourse, you can board ahead of everyone in the long zigzag line for the escalator. We walk by the track where it's going to be boarding. They ask me if I'm in the sleeper. No, that's not how I board here. You go over this way, and you go over this way. You go down here to the TikTok place, and you just go past everything. People are always doing TikToks here. I don't know. There it is. That's our train. Okay, we made it. We're the first. Oh goodness, we're the first. All right. A little bit of time in the lounge. First in the coach. Let's ride this to Chicago. The flippy uppy is shoved under the seat. Better we didn't take these seats. As we sat across the aisle, following when I figured out that we were on the wrong side to view the Hudson River, the person that would be sitting in these later on after Cleveland could visibly be seen with a torn seat cushion, so good on me for finally noticing here in a moment. As we want to be on this side, because I believe this train goes backwards out of New York. 7th Avenue, Boston, to the left. And we exit toward DC, where we take the Empire connection. Flippy up the flippy. That one's easier. Okay, recliner. It's nice. I flipped down the footrest and I found a nickel. That's important to old guys. It's true. The Lakeshore Limited isn't being turned in New York City. It seems the East River Tunnel construction that necessitated the Floridian's existence also affects this train in it being turned at Albany in about a few hours. So it's backwards up the Hudson for us.
Local 4 train 49, the Lakeshore Limited. There is no cafe service until after you depart from Albany. A reminder, there is no cafe service. Here we go, folks. Our next station stop in about 40 minutes. We close Harvard.
Several decades ago, this route was appropriated by Amtrak to bring its inbound trains to Penn Station rather than Grand Central. You get what you get in coach on Amtrak as far as odd social behavior. The Floridian had none such as what New York again dished out. Any Penn Station departing Amtrak train I've taken has people openly narrating discussions that should not be made in a public mode of conveyance. That is to say, the woman seated ahead of us got done having a verbal altercation with the passenger aside her about which of them deserved to sit in the row that had a seat in front of theirs removed for a passenger further down the line in a wheelchair, or perhaps was seated on the previous day's train set and that seat was left in Chicago. Anyway, she and him got split up by the conductor, and she proceeds to call up her priest and talk for about an hour on speakerphone. I cannot make up the New Yorkisms I see on Amtrak.
Aquí al lado de su papá. Entonces tuvimos que buscar sacerdote clave. Está el ritual antecedido con esas oraciones de misas con mi papá.
The Lakeshore Limited was the name of a New York Central Railroad train that ran a route from Grand Central Terminal in New York to LaSalle Street Station in Chicago that once ran with a section to and from St. Louis via Cincinnati, splitting in Cleveland. In the Amtrak era, the route was served by the train simply named Lakeshore 9 days after Amtrak commenced service in 1971. It was the alternative to the Broadway Limited, which ran New York to Chicago via Philly and Pittsburgh. That train was operated as a state-funded route by New York and Ohio. By early 1972, the Lakeshore was discontinued when New York failed its funding obligation. In 1975, Amtrak began to operate the Lakeshore Limited as a New York and Boston originating set of trains, combining in Albany and continuing to Chicago Union Station. I've been as far as here on this line at Croton Harmon, This train was oddly not the most expensive itinerary back to Chicago in mid-June 2026. It was actually the second cheapest. Reversing the route we took to the coast would have saved us about $20 compared to the fare of $160, $170-ish we paid. Going through DC would have been somewhat more expensive on both my finances and patience. I can't justify the boarding situation there. It's way too linear. Probably something about security in DC, but stressful nonetheless. And the Cardinal was really just too early for us to take, it weirdly being as expensive as our trip. The World Cup made a lot of things different at the East Coast stations, more crowded at most, except New York. There's plenty of room to spread out there. Our train was already very well occupied out of New York and would see quite a few ons in Albany and nearly every stop in upstate New York. This line has been the poster child for New York State's intrastate passenger empire service, as well as the Ethan Allen Express, the Berkshire Flyer, and the Maple Leaf and the Adirondack for two of Amtrak's 3 international services, and Metro North's Hudson line. Well engineered enough to permit a practical amount of trains for the state's needs, but still seems as if it could do with a few more during the World Cup. Amtrak has several corridors that float under the radar for scenery, and this is undoubtedly one of them. The Empire Builder along the Mississippi and the city of New Orleans in the bayous come to mind. This route's big advantage for the slightly higher fare is not having to connect through Pittsburgh at midnight, and not having to rely on the Floridian's timekeeping, which is typically never great. This train, on the other hand, is stymied only by Chicago-bound traffic on one end, freight for one night, and then company traffic into the rest of its travel. First class in the form of Viewliner sleeping cars is offered at a sadly reasonable total fare of about $570-ish for a roomette on this trip. It can be more. Bedrooms are rarely available for some extortionist price.
For dinner is 5 o'clock. If you're in the sleeping car, 49, 11, and 12, and you have a 5 o'clock reservation, please come on down. If you'd like to join us at 5 o'clock, dining car is open for the sleeper 49, 11, and 12. Thank you.
Still, compared to the over $800 starting first-class fare for DC running options on the Floridian or Cardinal back to Chicago, the Lakeshore Limited has seen its fares, once highest in the region, systematically lowered, somewhat due to demand for the Floridian, running double-duty service for the Silver Star and Capital Limited, driving up fares running further south. I'd wanted to take this line through upstate New York for a couple of decades now. I'd always envisioned it happening in a roomette, but when saving every dollar is the goal, coach is really the best option. Maybe someday I'll save enough to come back and see Poughkeepsie Station, which I've heard was designed by the same guy who made Grand Central Terminal. Sure, you don't get to sleep flat, but with the right kind of pillows and some food, either brought on board or enjoyed prior to departure, you'd never need to consider the calls to service in the newer Viewliner dining cars as part of a serious upgrade to that level of service on this route. Because the coach passengers can't buy into a dining car meal.
Wrangler to stop, please. Exit, we see a crew member.
And that shiny new dining car only serves flexible dining meals on this, Amtrak's premier East Coast sleeper train from New York to Chicago. At least with the fares being quite a bit lower on this route nowadays, the difference between dining on pre-cooked meals on this train versus the fresher, prepared, plated, on-site traditional dining of the Floridian, it would seem to be more representative of the experience you're paying for overall. But believe me, the views from the shoreline of the Hudson are really what is worth your time. And those views look as great from a big Amfleet 2 window in coach as they do in a sleeping car, and these ones were even fairly clean. Once that lady on the phone left at Rhinecliff, the varied weather and peaky forested hilltops laid out across the river for an enjoyable but backwards scenery experience. It's not bad yet. We're not even 3 hours in. Okay. The Boston section of the Lakeshore Limited meets the New York section at Albany, where the cafe car will be coupled onto our train set along with Boston coaches and a sleeping car during a scheduled break.
Station stop is Albany. Once again, the station stop is Albany. As you were instructed, station stop is Albany.
And we have a dead-heading coach car.
The Albany station is really quite the trip. You've got a little bit of a layover here while they wide the train over the Hudson River Bridge. And you can go into the station and see the most unique kind of setup you'll ever see in the Amtrak system. Plus, there's a cafe that has a lot of good options, none of which are overpriced, even more so accented when you've just come from New York City. The Maple Leaf from Toronto departs as our train was reversed by going straight up the track ahead, then reversing on a Y to the west until the train straddled both banks of the Hudson from the bridge above. Then it pulls back into the station, the Boston section pulls up ahead, and finishes the combining procedure by joining onto the New York section, which is then facing the opposite, i.e. forward direction, compared to how we came into Albany backwards.
Backwards no more.
It's a more complicated procedure than if this were performed on our section back in New York. That eats up 17 minutes from our schedule. At this point in the trip, I expect to lose more time. Though it's not hot enough to incur any heat-related speed restrictions, there must be some freight traffic that this middle-of-the-week train will have to deal with in Ohio or Indiana, right?
Once again, we're going to train 49. At this time, dining car is open and ready to serve. If you're in sleeper 49, 20, 11, or 12, please be ready to be seated. You must wear shoes at all times. Someone will sit you down shortly. Thank you.
Folks, this is train 49 headed for Chicago. Final stop, making all intermediate stops. Just a few notes, folks, about the train. The cafe is not yet open. The cafe car is not yet open. We will make an announcement here shortly when it does open. Next stop will be Schenectady. After that will be Utica, Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, to Pew, where we make our next crew change, and they will then send you guys the rest of the way to Chicago. There's absolutely no smoking or vaping on board the train, folks. There is no smoking or vaping on board the train, folks. Cleveland and Syracuse are the only station stops for smoking and vaping. You must have headphones on. If you have an electronic device and it is making absolutely any noise, you must silence your device or put in headphones, folks. No one around you wants to hear your videos, games, kids shows, phone conversations, music, etc. Headphones are required at all times on board all Amtrak trains.
I'm totally expecting to find the train stopped at some point when I awaken from my slumber, if I get any slumber in coach tonight, likely after Cleveland, and then anticipating a mid-afternoon connection to a Metro train in Chicago, rather than one that could be had within the half hour if we arrive on time at 10 a.m. the next morning. One thing we do have going for us is a rather brief stretch of track west of Albany, where our train can run at higher speeds speeds almost 110 miles an hour, a hopeful sign of future infrastructure improvements on this line that will see Amtrak's capacity to serve the region increased in the decades to come.
All right, folks, Schenectady's coming up in just a couple of minutes. Schenectady's coming up just a couple minutes.
The train was fairly well booked at this point. The connection to Cleveland, Chicago, and the Western long-distance network afforded by the Lakeshore Limited is a tremendous convenience for these upstate cities that also see trains on select hours throughout the day between their cities alike.
The cafe car will remain open until midnight. At midnight, the cafe and the seating area in the cafe will close.
I'd like to take the Maple Leaf from Buffalo as a connection eastbound out of Chicago someday. I don't know if I've got in me the wherewithal to connect with this westbound train in that city just after midnight. Rather, I'd head east to Rochester on the Maple Leaf for a departure timed more at a conventional time which to put down to bed on the train. This train used to take this portion of the trip overnight, affording Cleveland further down the line some daylight train service. That came to an end decades ago. But beyond operational shifts away from traditional dining and timetable changes, this service continues to serve the cities on the water level route in much the same capacity as it did in the earlier half of the 20th century. Getting ready for a full night's sleep in coach was aided by a couple extra pillows, which found me oddly preferring side sleep against the curved wall of these Amfleet cars. I will be sad to see these seats be transitioned away from in the coming decade or two when the new single-level long-distance fleets come online. The padding and recliner-like seat design could only be topped in the future by some new lie-flat seat technology, which I doubt Amtrak would invest in. It's a shame, though, because American passenger rail really needs a middle tier of long-distance train accommodation. Something in an extra couple cars that civilizes the seating and sleeping arrangements without selling lounge access or onboard food. Even without the buttercakes, this route's cafe car paired with the capability for all passengers to bring their own food on board from Albany or elsewhere leaves the bare-bones coach versus overpriced sleeping car, even at the Lakeshore Limited's newer, lower fare structure, quite the area of opportunity for America's passenger rail company. We were tracking around 5 minutes late all morning, but some freight traffic east of South Bend found us as late as 24 minutes after a fortunate night spent never so delayed, as we were at the western end of Indiana. So at that point, I was starting to plan a lunch somewhere on the west side of Chicago, being that we'd be unlikely to make our Metra UP Northwest train at 10:35 departing Ogilvie when we were arriving into Union Station, and those are a good 6 blocks away from each other with all the trackage. But luck somehow turned toward our path, clearing freight from ahead as we made up all but 9 minutes on the approach into Chicago. We would have to go 6 city blocks from south platforms of Union Station, through the other alighting passengers, then through the basement of the station where boarding and alighting passengers all converged, and then across another full platform length on the north side of Union Station, up to street level, across 2 city streets, and up another couple block lengths to the Metro platform at Ogilvie. We'd have 14 minutes to go 6 blocks past anyone in our way. Just barely enough was my call, and we staged ourselves up and awaiting arrival after passing the locomotive shops in Chicago south of the station. My commitment to making the tight connection was seen in that I didn't plan to hold a camera through our sprint. Thus, let me describe how it went down. We were the 3rd and 4th off our coach, which was the 5th of 6th in line away from the station. We got off and zigzagged at a frantic pace around passengers, red caps, carts, everything. We had a crazy pace going until the locomotive exhaust hit me just prior to entering the station, where I could do no better than a speed walk through the station. We then went down to the north platform, ignoring the station status boards we were unaware of the time, but expecting not to make it. Dozens of unforgiving stairs up to street level, we caught a lucky crosswalk signal across Madison and a gap in traffic across Canal. We were entering Ogilvy, headed up the escalator as I had done in haste last winter. I checked for our track assignment on a display board only to see that we had just passed 10:30 a.m. By the time we made it to our platform, I saw 10:31 on the board and our conductors not yet at the boarding doors. We had made it 6 blocks between stations with an overstuffed duffel bag and backpacks out of a sold-out inner-city train to a busy regional commuter train in just 10 minutes. The ride back up to Harvard was breathless, and will be seen more in a future video about the line. But yeah, our luck held out to deliver us back to my parked van in Harvard so I could build my other kid's new bed 2 hours prior to her bedtime rather than an hour after.
All right, I'm not doing a bag like that again. That was at times brutal. Mostly just the running through the part of Union Station with all the diesel exhaust. It's better than driving all the way down here, but I'm glad this is an option too.
And that was the end of my Lakeshore Limited trip. I suppose I'll take this again, but to where, can't say yet. Subscribe, like, and we'll see where we go in the future. Thanks for watching today.